I saw a really subtle indication in the news today that PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, huge, well-funded international organization, I saw a subtle indication that they may have finally heard the criticism of their tasteless exploitation of the sex appeal of veganism. That they've heard the criticism and responded to it by making their outreach and advertising program even worse. Here's what you may have missed, even if you are following the vegan news on various websites, maybe just on Reddit or here on YouTube. This year, PETA put out a press release announcing Ava DuVernay and Benedict Cumberbatch as PETA's most beautiful vegans. Now, what's new about this? How can this possibly be newsworthy or worth discussing? Don't they do some kind of tacky, crass, Sexiest Vegan award every 6 months or even more often? It seems like every couple of months they find another excuse to do something like this. Here's the subtle difference you may have missed. Last year, they were not the most beautiful vegan celebrities. Last year, the award went to the sexiest vegan celebrities. You notice the difference in wording? Just a couple of months ago, on this same YouTube channel, I made a short video. It's one of my least popular videos. Nobody paid it much attention, in which I pointed out that PETA's Sexiest Vegan Award, it's not sexy anymore. It has almost nothing to do with sex appeal. In a very curious way, I just went through the list of nominees and how the winners were chosen. It was kind of people competing on who had the best sob story, who had the most tear-jerking account of all the different charities they support, or how oppressed they are in terms of their own cultural background, how they come from some kind of poverty-stricken, ethnically disadvantaged background, but nevertheless today volunteer in a church basement to feed starving people with one arm and one leg and teach them how to do a square dance. Like, really? It was that bad. It was like, sorry, this is a beauty competition? This is a beauty contest? This is an award for Sexiest Vegan that's being awarded on the basis of criteria that have nothing to do with sex appeal. And indeed, just in looking through the photos, you got one photograph of each of the contestants in the last competition I covered. Most of them, there wasn't even an attempt to make them look sexy, like whether or not these people were objectively or subjectively sexy. Like the one photo you got was obviously not the most flattering. It wasn't even an attempt to make the people look sexy. So at that time, I threw up some screenshots of what that was. I discussed it. But this is the year. This is the year 2018, where apparently PETA acknowledged my criticism and the criticism, I think I could say, thousands of others. And they dropped the word sexiest out of the title and replaced it with most beautiful. And here's the tragic thing. The result has been that they've made it even worse. They haven't solved the problem. They haven't made it better. They've made the problem worse. Now, if you've been on the internet for a while, I don't have a word for this phenomenon, but I'm sure you've seen this again and again. I can remember on Tumblr. So Tumblr is a website, text and image based. It's not a video website. You can post videos on there, but at the time it was more like a written blog website where people would share their thoughts and feelings about things. And somebody put together a meme that showed a conventionally beautiful woman, someone who was a bikini model, and it showed a woman who was dying of some terrible affliction, some disease that made her wither away, but was smiling for the camera, from some newspaper story about her terrible disease that's causing her to wither away and die. And, the woman who was ill, I think she had no hair and so on, and she was really a sort of emaciated ghost of a woman. And there's this angry text below it saying, if you don't think that these two people are equally beautiful, then you're a terrible person and you should be ashamed of yourself, and telling people to repost and thumbs up and give the heart or give the like to this post to show how much they agreed with the idea that the people in these two photographs were equally beautiful. So beautiful. the word here is beautiful. Now, the internet is a place that seems to both, reward stupidity and encourage a kind of silent conformism of thought in these things. But I actually saw some substantive responses to this particular image, this particular meme, of people objecting and saying, no, let's stop and really think about what the word beauty, the word beautiful means. Why can't we just acknowledge, yeah, maybe beauty is shallow, maybe it's skin deep, maybe beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but beauty isn't moral value, beauty isn't intellectual value, beauty isn't a political judgment or a moral judgment or ethical judgment. It's not any of these things. If we're going to talk about who's beautiful here, if we're going to give an award for who's beautiful, if we're going to value people beautiful, let's really face up to what beauty is. Let's stop trying to misrepresent beauty as morality, I guess. And really, in this case, in the case of this particular meme, we're not even talking about the morality of the person in the picture. It's actually the morality of the beholder. It's of the person looking at the picture. It's the morality of you recognizing beauty. So anyway, I remember that controversy, and obviously there was a kind of feminist social justice warrior reaction to this. That no, we mustn't acknowledge beauty as something different from morality, I suppose. That to make a judgment that one person is more beautiful than another is allegedly, from their perspective, a deeply immoral thing. Well, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they've been in the business of judging who's sexiest and who's most beautiful for many, many years. And I really wonder why. I doubt it's because they saw my video on my YouTube channel. Why was it only now in 2017 that they were supposed... Sorry, 2017 was the last year when they used the word sexiest. Why is it only now in 2018 that they've finally turned the corner and gotten rid of the word sexiest? So last year, I'm guessing they came to some kind of terrible, indecisive, judgment on this. Their finalists last year for the sexiest vegan celebrity included Swizz Beatz, who's an MC associated with hip-hop music, Ricky Gervais. I'm not hating on him. Nobody would nominate Ricky Gervais in a sexiest anything competition. He's not ugly, don't get me wrong, he's a comedian, he's an entertainer. But already there's kind of a difficult question here. Don't get me wrong, people are going to find Ricky Gervais sexy. There's a different lid for every pot. But if you're having a beauty competition, what is the point of having a beauty competition? It's so mind-numbingly stupid to begin with. But given the premise that you're going to have a most beautiful vegan competition or a sexiest vegan competition, obviously the criteria here aren't really beauty or sex appeal when you're talking about people like Swizz Beatz and Ricky Gervais on the male side. And the winners in 2016, they apparently couldn't decide on who to give the award to. So they split it three ways between Ruby Rose, Jenna Dylan Tatum, and Maggie Q. Bizarre. And look, the internet was invented, apparently, to aggregate, images that other human beings find sexy and appealing. You can really easily and really rapidly now find examples of people who've risen, and vegans specifically, who've risen to public acclaim and public fame because other people find them beautiful or other people find them sexy. And this ain't it. And now they've taken a step further in 2018. The word sexy is gone. Obviously, some people are going to find Ava DuVernay attractive. Some people are going to find Benedict Cumberbatch attractive. Don't get me wrong. But the judgment being made on them here is obviously moral rather than aesthetic, rather than having anything to do with beauty. Obviously, they're making a political statement in claiming that Ava DuVernay is a beautiful person. Again, even the photographs they're using of her, this is not the most flattering or most beautiful or most sexy photograph of her possible. You could probably, put together a photo shoot that looks at it in this way. Benedict Cumberbatch is not the sexiest male vegan in the world. He's not the sexiest, cast member of the Avengers or whatever other crappy mainstream movies he's been in lately. He's probably not even the sexiest man to have played the role of Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, I can put up some really unflattering photographs of who he is and what he looks like. In covering this, look, this is not news. This is a story that I think is dying, and I'm drawing your attention to it precisely because of its lack of relevance. I've had a lot of discussion on my channel now, and I've had a lot of discussion over the last 4 years about what is effective activism. We are pretty much never going to be debating or criticizing a form of activism that has zero impact, zero effect, or zero outcome. You can think of the worst and most embarrassing and most pathetic form of activism you can find on the internet or in real life, and I guarantee you, if you look around, you'll find someone who puts up their hand and says they converted to veganism because of it. I personally find it both laughable and cringe-inducing to see John Sackars is a musician, notorious vegan musician. John Sackars making one song after another about his sex life and how allegedly his sex life got so much better because he became vegan. We all know it's not true. If you just scroll through his channel a little bit further, you can find more honest videos where he talks about how terrible his sex life is and how his whole life has fallen apart since he became vegan. Interesting character, but like these awful videos from John Sackars, it would be very easy for someone to kind of jump to the conclusion, oh, this makes us look crazy, it makes vegans look crazy, this discredits the movement, this is bad for veganism, this is ineffective activism, this can't possibly work for anyone. Trust me, I guarantee there are people. I know one person who loves the work of John Sackars. There may only be one. I know one vegan activist who takes a lot of positive inspiration from what he does. And I know there will be people out there who first got the concept of veganism, even if they were laughing at it and not laughing with it, from John Sackars playing the guitar and wriggling his tongue around on camera and talking about his sex life. It's ridiculous. It's awful. But if you're trying to make the judgment, does it have zero efficacy? Like if this is a simple binary, does it work or does it not work? It's not easy to just say with this kind of cultural expression, well, it doesn't work. It's broken. It should be discarded, right? I mean, by the same token, I'm not going to sit here and in a shallow way say to you that PETA, People with the Ethical Treatment of Animals, that this organization, PETA, that they've done nothing positive for the vegan movement by year after year having these awful, embarrassing, cringe-inducing, terrible, sexiest vegan competitions, now rebranded as Most Beautiful Vegan. I'm not going to say that to you. I'm sure somewhere in the internet, maybe right now in the comment section of this video, someone can put up their hand and say that they discovered veganism and joined the movement or first took an interest in the ethics or the ecology of animals and, the importance of not eating meat because they read in a newspaper that Maggie Q was allegedly the sexiest vegan in the world, according to this, charity, this nonprofit that does this thing. It's going to have more than zero outcome, right? But here's the metric. It's not arithmetic where we compare things to zero value, right? Life is short. The process and the product here involves you. You have only so many years of your life. You have only so many hours in so many days to try to make an impact. And you have to decide, is this how your time and your budget is going to be spent? I've raised this question most recently with a form of vegan activism that involves standing in silence wearing a mask for 4 hours. And I asked the hard question that inevitably has to be asked. Isn't there a more effective way for you to be spending your time and, sure, to some extent, money? In that case, it's more time than money. I can't imagine anything less effective for PETA to be doing with this time and money and effort. Like, I really think if you sat down and did a brainstorming session and threw darts at a board and tried to come up with something, what could be worse? And the sad irony is, what this really shows, just like the example I talked about from Tumblr, from this blog, just like the example of this meme showing a very sickly woman dying of a disease, contrasted to some beautiful bikini model, it shows the profound discomfort with both physical beauty, with sexiness itself, and the discomfort with talking about ethics as ethics. PETA, if you want to give an award for the most ethically outstanding vegan of the year, do that. Do that. Go right ahead. If you want to give an award for the most outstanding creative artist in Veganism of the Year, or the best documentary filmmaker of the year, there are so many awards that Ava DuVernay could be a respected candidate for, and where I think she would respect and appreciate the award more, and where the public would respect and appreciate what PETA was doing more. But you make a farce out of yourself, you make a farce out of Ava DuVernay, you make a farce out of veganism by pretending to give an award for most beautiful and most sexy vegan when you're so deeply uncomfortable in dealing with what beauty and sexuality are really all about.